969.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you're with us. Push off the dock here. We got tons to get to over the next couple of hours. Luke Johnson going to be with us in 15 minutes. Some great sound from Miles Frazier earlier today with the folks on Off the Bench, who've done a great job all week long down there at the Senior Bowl. We got to talk a little bit about Derek Curiel. Got some really good news from him earlier today. I got to preview second base as we work around the diamond with LSU baseball, something I'm doing with LouisianaSports.net, and I'm doing with you here every day from 1 to 3 as well, so we'll get to that a little bit later. And we got to start the same way we start each and every day. We're going to do a little bit of hoops on the Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, LSU loses in the Assembly Center last night. The final was 87-74. The number one Auburn Tigers win it by 13 points. And there were so many different talking points to get into from this basketball game. The start was just bizarre. Auburn had 6 offensive rebounds on their first possession. They had 9 offensive rebounds on their first 9 missed shots and did not have a point. LSU jumped out to a 6-0 lead. BMAC was buzzing a little bit. I got asked a couple times this morning how the crowd was. The students were great. They were there. They were loud. They were, they were as many students as been in a game since last season for sure. Was it a good crowd for an LSU basketball game? Yeah. Was it a great crowd for the number one team in the nation? No. I've seen Tennessee and Kentucky roll into that place, number one in the country, and it be absolutely jammed. Most of the upper was kind of sparse. There was a large assembly of Auburn fans there. I've seen Tennessee travel to the PMAC, and Kentucky travels everywhere. So I've seen more visiting fans, but a lot of visiting fans. I have not seen Ole Miss or A&M or Arkansas or Florida or anybody like that come close to what I saw from the Auburn contingent last night, and made for a pretty good atmosphere inside the PMAC. And LSU came out pretty ready to play. They were active defensively. They knocked down some shots, which they almost never do. And they took control of the game early and led by 6. And were playing Arkansas what and what. And then what always happens, happened. And LSU just could not, under any circumstance, hold on to the basketball. They just couldn't do it. Dribbling it off their foot, getting their pocket picked, dribbling into a trap. It just constantly turning it over against a team in Auburn that is great on defense, but has not ratcheted up turnovers against their opposition like they did last night. And LSU turned the ball over 15 times in the first half alone, which allowed Auburn to separate. There was a point in the game. It was 14-9 LSU. And then over the next about 6 minutes or so, from 13:32 to 7:21, there was a 6-minute span. Auburn won that span 17-2. They flipped a 14-9 LSU lead into a 26-16 Auburn lead. And at that point, Auburn just kind of kept LSU at arm's length. I never felt sitting in the Assembly Center last night that LSU had a real chance to win the game. Even when Jordan Sears splashed a 3 for a 4-point play, came back on the net trip, hit another 3, had 7 points, cut the lead to 5. And I still am looking at this going, And immediately Auburn calls timeout. They come down the floor. They throw it to Janai Broome. He gets a 3-point play. And that's just kind of what Auburn does. And that's what Auburn's done to everyone because they're really, really good. They're balanced. They're really good on offense and defense, which means they don't have to rely on one end of the floor. And they make clutch plays, which is why they've won games. It hasn't always been a work of art. They beat a bad South Carolina team by a bucket, beat a mediocre Georgia team by a bucket. We're in a tight game with a mediocre Texas team. It's not like they're beating everybody by 25, but they always win. The only time they haven't won was on the road at number 2, currently Duke. And they're probably the best team in the country. And LSU is not in that league. And because of that, every time I felt like maybe LSU would draw close enough to make Auburn sweat, Auburn did not break a sweat. Auburn instead just went right back down the floor and got a basket. I mean, I can look at the scoring here, and LSU cuts it to 6 with 12 minutes to go, and Auburn immediately pushes it to 11. LSU cuts it to 9, then it goes back to 12. LSU cuts it to 6 on a pair of Cam Carter free throws. Immediately, Janai Broome three-point play, it's 9. LSU cuts it to 6. Boom, Janai Broome gets to the line and makes 2 free throws. LSU cuts it to 9, and immediately Johnson hits a 3 with 3.5 minutes to go, and the game's out. Every single time LSU got within kind of an arm's length, Auburn just kind of swatted them away. That's what it felt like last night. And ultimately, the stat sheet reveals LSU's nightmare every single time they go out there. 20 turnovers led to 20 Auburn points, and Auburn just absolutely flooded the offensive glass time and time and time again. They got 25 offensive rebounds, and that resulted in 20 second chance points. Now, you can get a second chance point off turnovers, so it's not what and what, but 20 second chance points and 20 off of turnovers. You're in the neighborhood 34, 36, 38, 40 points off of those two. LSU actually defended decently, and that's what we've talked about all SEC play. Like, they held Auburn to 40% shooting and 32% from 3. That's not a great night for the number 1 offensive efficiency team by some of the metrics. Top 5 by everybody. 40%, 32 from 3, like, that's just an average day. But because you can't get shots up, you can't win. LSU was outshot in this game 80-51. That is 29 shots. 29 extra shots that Auburn put up. And you offset that by a fraction because LSU shot 26 free throws to Auburn's 21. But still, 29 extra shots on offensive rebounds and turnovers. LSU outshot Auburn 47% to 40%. LSU was actually shooting the 3 ball really well. Like, as well as they've shot it in months. Consider the fact that LSU on threes, if I pull this up, LSU on threes missed 6 of their last 7. And they still, from the 3-point line, shot 8 of 22. So you go 7 of 15 from 3 before the very end of the game. And 3 of those were Trey'Dez Green playing high school ball, chucking it up when he shouldn't have been. I could make a case you were 7 for 11 on real threes that you took. And let me just be honest with you. I'll just give you a moment of honesty as I sat in the PMAC. I texted this to multiple people. It's not my proudest thing, but it is what it is. When LSU was chucking in those threes, Carter made both of his. Sears makes one. Then he splashes a 4-point play and cuts it to 5. And I'm sitting there in the PMAC going, man, I really wish they weren't making these threes against Auburn because they're not going to win this game anyway. Save the made threes for Missouri and Vanderbilt. Save the made threes for South Carolina. Save the made threes for Texas A&M coming to the PMAC. Don't make them against them. You're not going to beat them. Now, that's a pathetic way to look at things, but I'm just being honest the way that I felt sitting in the PMAC watching that game. The fact of the matter is, as I stare at the court and I watch Auburn in person, you're looking at a different class of player, in my opinion, than you're looking at with LSU. They shoot it better. They're more athletic. They're longer. They're deeper. They're more balanced. They make better decisions. They're better spaced. They defend much more intensely. LSU's not bad on defense, But Auburn created chaos against LSU, and while LSU does generally hold teams to reasonably low field goal outputs, it doesn't look chaotic out there. LSU just kind of sound. They're just kind of in front of you. They will make some things difficult at the rim, and they did that for Auburn at times. Auburn on layups was 6 for 17. Sorry, that's LSU's. Auburn was not great from layups either. Auburn was 14 of 33. So once again, well under 50% at the rim, and LSU does that sometimes, but it doesn't look as chaotic. Auburn at times looked like the varsity team scrimmaging the JV team at practice for a high school. Like you just overwhelm them. And that's what 20 turnovers looks like. And Auburn turned it over 9 times. Auburn looks really good. I've seen really good basketball teams come through there, and that's a really good one. And LSU is kind of where we feared they would be when you walked off the court against Vanderbilt. You looked at that, and you said, well, if they can't get that one, it's going to be really, really bumpy. And the fact of the matter is it's been really, really bumpy. You now look up, and you're 1-6 in league play, 1-7 in league play. And now the schedule actually breaks for you a little bit, but at this point, like you've dug yourself such a massive cliff that I don't feel like anybody right now feels like this basketball team is capable of writing things the way the baseball team did last year. The baseball team was famously 3-12 at the halfway point of SEC play last year. And I threw dirt on them. I thought they were done, but you knew that they had talent, and they come out and they win the game. And they win the next game. And they win the next game. And all of a sudden, they put themselves, by going 10-5 down the stretch, in position to squeak into the NCAA tournament. And I'm not talking about the NCAA tournament right now with this team, but I will tell you that you just got off a stretch where you played at Ole Miss, then Arkansas, at A&M, at Alabama, home Auburn. That's teams that are in the top 20 in the polls. Here's what's coming up next for LSU. A game at home against Texas, which will be about a pick'em game. At Georgia, who's no great shakes. Ole Miss comes to the PMAC. I wouldn't pick LSU to win that game, but LSU played with Ole Miss for about 30 minutes in Oxford. You're at Arkansas, who's a mess. You're at Oklahoma, who's not very good. South Carolina comes to the PMAC. They hadn't won a league game. Now you finish with a nightmare. It's Florida, Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky, and A&M. But this next stretch, it's not wild to think LSU could win 3 or 4 of them. I'm not even blowing smoke there. I told you yesterday they had no shot to beat Auburn. But this you're playing the bottom of the league here coming up. You're in the bottom of the league, but you're playing the bottom of the league. But you went so far south by not being able to beat Vanderbilt, not being able to beat Missouri, and not being able to pick off one against one of these good teams, that you're in a deep, deep hole. And they're going to keep playing and fighting and scrapping. But I'll be honest, like I could give you that 2 years ago. I could give you that last year. I'm not really in a fight and scrap and clawing mood with this team. I know Jalen Reed got hurt. I know Tyrell Ward walked out. But this is LSU. This is a major sport. I'm not going to sit after the game and go, well, they played really hard. You got to win games, and they're not winning games. And it's a bummer. I'm hopeful there's a decent crowd for a big night, for a great team, the 2000 Final Four team that'll be honored on Friday at 5 o'clock. Texas comes in, good tip time. It's a home game. You're honoring a team that a lot of people have great memories of. But it just feels like, sitting in the PMAC last night, you're kind of looking at the floor going, okay, when they throwing the first pitch over there? And that's, y'all know how much I love LSU baseball. Just adore it. I love basketball too, and I want to follow a really good basketball team. Right now you're 1-6, and you turn the ball over way, way too much, and you can't get on the defensive glass, and your good offensive games generally haven't been good enough, and you've only got one win to show for it in league play. So we'll see. I'll preview Texas tomorrow. We'll talk about the 2000 Final Four team tomorrow. And last night was a pretty spicy environment for a little bit inside the PMAC, but ultimately the really, really good team held you at arm's length and won, and LSU didn't really have an answer for that. And that's pretty not surprising at this point when you consider what we've watched with this team since conference play cranked up. So that's our Genesis opening drive. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. When we come back, let's talk to Luke Johnson. What are the Saints up to? That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety can be a big, big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. If there's someone in your life that wants to stay at home, but you feel like the bathroom could be a hazardous spot, want to try your best to mitigate against slips and falls, David Vaughn and his team can help you with that. They can do non-slip floors. They can do handrails in the slippery areas. They can do walk-in showers and tubs. They can do benches and showers. All that can be beneficial to someone in your life that is aging a little bit and maybe in a hazardous situation. Do your best to mitigate against it and call David Vaughn One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, see pictures of their great work, and get that free consultation set up very, very soon. It's One Bath and Closets, David Vaughn and his team, 30 years in the business. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111, your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chugging along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those Saints, Luke Johnson covers them for The Advocate, joins us on Thursdays via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Kellen Moore, the favorite now to be the Saints' new head coach?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're pretty much all in on him, and it really just depends on what he wants to do. But just the fact that it's even gone this long, right, and the coaching search is still ongoing, just kind of keeps continuing to point toward Kellen Moore being the guy.
Do you think it's been a mishandled or discouraging coaching search because you've heard names that have surfaced that have said thanks but no thanks, or do you think that the Saints are just doing their due diligence?
I would say not mishandled, but disappointing for sure. I mean, like, maybe it has been mishandled, right? Like, we just don't know the details of why some of these candidates have basically said no thanks. Yeah, the Aaron Glenn one and the Mike McCarthy one, I think are explainable, right? Like, Aaron Glenn clearly like had his sights set on the Jets. You know, I think you could reasonably say that was a good choice for him. The Jets have a lot of problems as an organization for sure. You know, they have a huge question at quarterback, but like they have some like really appealing pieces on their roster. They're obviously in a better salary cap space. It's maybe a place where he can more easily succeed as a first-time head coach. So you get that. And the Mike McCarthy thing, like they never even talked to him. So it doesn't even really feel like he was a true candidate. Like they wanted to talk to him, but like if you're a head coach with 18 years of experience and you won a Super Bowl and you've been successful at every step of the way, and like doesn't really make a huge concerted effort to come get you, then like set it out and find a better job next year. The one that is really kind of concerning is Joe Brady. Just basically telling him like I'm not even going to consider the job. I'm not going to come down for a in-person interview. That set up the red flags. So, if the Kellen Moore thing doesn't work out, and they're on to option number 5 or 6, I think even if it's somebody the Saints feel really good about, and they think they hired a really good head coach, they're going to have like a PR problem. It's going to be hard to sell that candidate when you had 5 other guys say no thank you.
What do you think the Saints find appealing about Kellen Moore?
Hey, can you repeat that, Hunt? I'm sorry.
That's all good. What do you think the Saints find appealing about Kellen Moore?
Well, I mean, he's 36 years old, and he's had a lot of success when he's been an offensive play caller. He's had 6 years as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and 4 of those years he had a top 10 offense. So there's like proven ability there to get a really good offense going. I think the question about him is like, is he just a coordinator, or can he handle like the head coach job, which is like the question you have about any first time guy. I think you'd feel a little bit better about it with like Aaron Glenn because he's so charismatic and like it's not readily present with Kellen Moore. But the success is there. You feel really good about that. You feel really good about the fact that a lot of the successful head coaches in the NFL right now are young offensive play callers. So, I think this would be a good hire if he accepts the job. And if he doesn't, I just think it's going to be like a hard sell to the fan base.
Is Darren Rizzi still in play here?
I think he is. If he wasn't in play, I think he already would have taken another job as a special teams coordinator. I think the Denver job is open, and they're probably waiting on what's going to happen with this. So, I mean, I don't know this for sure. Like, nobody's like telling me like, yeah, Darren's still in the mix, but I think just reading the tea leaves, it just feels like he is still like a viable candidate for them, especially if they don't have like an answer from Kellen Moore.
My issue with that is if you end up hiring Darren Rizzi, and I don't know if the Saints are considering that or not. You seem to think they very much are, and we'll see. But if they hire him and Clint Kubiak's already walked, that would suggest to me that you fell back and you thought you were going to do something different, and then you circled back and it was a little bit late.
I totally agree with that, Hunt. And that's going to be like the problem here is like if they don't get Kellen Moore and it's Darren Rizzi or Anthony Weaver or Mike Kafka, any of those guys are going to feel like a fallback option, even if they weren't. Right? Like, even if the Saints are just like, yeah, we really like Anthony Weaver, like, all those guys are going to feel like your 5th best shot. And then on top of that, they're going to have to hire a completely new staff because all the guys who were on the Saints staff are gone, or a lot of them are already. So I just they really needed to be Kellen Moore.
I'm curious, you may not know the answer to this question, but I figure I'll ask. Like, you're coming up on one of the biggest drafts in recent memory for the New Orleans Saints. They've got to restock these shelves, and they've got a lot of picks. What is Darren Rizzi doing right now? Is he working for the Saints? Is he just waiting to hear back from them? I realize that you've got an entire personnel staff that's going to go to the Senior Bowl and is going to evaluate what they need to, but, like, what is Darren Rizzi doing?
As far as I know, he is at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to somebody here. I'm at the Senior Bowl. I'm actually pulling up to the stadium right now. I talked to somebody yesterday, and they said the only people the Saints have here are their college scouting department. Mickey Loomis was out here yesterday, and then they have a number of coaches who are like coaching in the actual Senior Bowl. And those are a lot of those guys are kind of like lower level assistants. It's weird to call Jari Evans a lower level assistant, but he's like the assistant offensive line coach. They have their assistant wide receivers coach out here. They have their assistant linebackers coach out here, and that's the only like member of the like football side of things, the coaching side of things, who are out here, which is like a really big departure from the way the Saints usually operate. They usually have a bunch of their staff out here. Usually for only for like a day or two, but they're out here to look at the players. That's not the case this year. It's just really the college scouting staff and the guys who don't know if they're going to be on their coaching staff next year.
That's an odd spot to be in. Any idea as a timeline for this thing? Do we think that if we feel like it's Kellen Moore, they're going to have to wait to officially announce things till after the Super Bowl? Maybe a report leaks next week. I mean, how do you feel like the timeline's going to go here?
Yeah, they can't do anything officially with Kellen Moore. If he's going to be the guy, they can't do anything officially with him until after the Super Bowl. So, we'd be looking at, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after the Super Bowl. Whereas if they get a sense from Kellen Moore, like that he's not going to take the job, like they could announce their hire anytime, really. But I think that the longer this thing drags on, the more it points toward Kellen Moore being the guy. And like he can have like a soft agreement in place, like a handshake, like, yeah, I want to do this. And he can start like kind of reaching out to guys and gauging their interest in being part of his staff and everything like that. But they can't come to any sort of like real agreement on it.
Right, understood. What's your assignment over at the Senior Bowl? What are you getting into over there?
I'm trying to pretend I know ball. These things are always kind of tough for me because like everybody's out here, they're like, wow, look at this guy's route stem, and I'm just like, dude, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. Let's just like get our 10 minutes to talk to these guys after practice, see some interesting takeaways from what they think about their own draft prospects, and then I stay out till about 2 a.m. trying to find coaches or agents to tell me some fun stuff.
There you go. Just find some bourbon nearby. You'll enjoy yourself. All right, Luke, I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Luke Johnson with the Advocate, Saints beat reporter over there at the Senior Bowl. I think that's kind of what we all think. I think if it's Kellen Moore, like if you don't hear anything by Tuesday of Super Bowl week, you probably have your answer, right? Like that's going to be your guy. We all kind of anticipate that there will be some sort of high-level report from a source that's got people in the agent world that says, Saints are heavily targeting Kellen Moore, something like that. It would indicate like, yeah, there's nothing official, but they've shaken hands, and that's going to be official pretty quickly after the Super Bowl's over. And as Luke said, like if Kellen Moore kind of looks at him and goes, I appreciate the conversation and have enjoyed it, but I think this is where I want to be for another year. Like then all of a sudden you may just pivot immediately and go, all right, Mike Kafka, you're the guy. And we'll see. But as I mentioned, they're like, they hired Darren Rizzi, and like you've had some staff guys walk out the door. That just kind of shows, in my opinion, that you kept swinging and missing and then grabbed the guy off the bench. That's kind of what it feels like. But we'll see. That's our Saints update for today. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it on our Saints channels, Hunt on Saints. Started out just on YouTube, now wherever you find your podcast. So if you're looking for audio form of our shows with Saints content, you can find it, Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your sound. Speaking of sound, I thought today Miles Frazier had an awesome sit-down with T-Bob and Jake on Off the Bench. Going to play a couple of bites from that and kind of give my thoughts on it. I talked to Miles a number of times over the course of the season, and he gave some really good insight on his journey through LSU, what he's looking to do towards the to the NFL, his approach to the bowl game, and then what he thinks about next year's LSU team. So we'll do all that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is that website. If you think luxury, think Genesis. If you think luxury and you think, I can't spend that kind of money, you might be surprised. You certainly won't spend any money if you don't go check it out. You won't get a new car if you don't go check it out. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at Piku, across from Women's Hospital. And it's just a first-class operation from start to finish when you show up there. The facility is gorgeous. It's clean. It's got a great ambiance, and the staff is first class in every way as well. Their brand ambassadors are so helpful. You're going to feel like a guest, not a customer. And that's their promise to you at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single new purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, as well as 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and that's valet maintenance. Start your process today at genesisofbatonrouge.com. See something you like, stop on by at Airline and Piku, or again, continue on the website. You never have to set foot on the lot to buy a Genesis. You can do it all at genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. King cake season is very much upon us. If you're looking for a king cake, whether it's just to have on the kitchen counter because it's a delicious treat, or you're going out to a parade, going to a Mardi Gras themed party or a ball, whatever the case may be, and you want to have king cake, Rouse's always has you covered. You never have to worry about walking into a Rouse's and thinking, oh, they're out of king cake. Just walk into any Rouse's, right in the front of the one at Burbank and Lee, where I go a couple times a week. There's just dozens of them stacked up. They have the standard cinnamon, and they've got the flavored ones on the other side. I personally am a flavored guy. I do like a cinnamon, but I'd rather have the cream cheese filling there. But they have tons. They're going to bake 600,000 of these during carnival season. So if you're looking for king cakes, be sure and stop on by a Rouse's. As you well know, the guys from Off the Bench at the Senior Bowl all week this week, Monday through Thursday. Incredible content from there in Mobile. Just talked to a ton of guys. They were at practice, giving a lot of takes. It sounds like the LSU guys are performing exceptionally well, and Miles Frazier is certainly included in that bunch. He sat down with Jacob and T-Bob this morning, and I thought it was a really, really well done interview by the guys, and it was awesome by Miles as well, which is not surprising because I talked to Miles Frazier on a number of occasions during the season, during midweek player interviews, and he was always insightful and thoughtful with his answers. And he was again today, and I've got a piece coming up on LouisianaSports.net later this afternoon that kind of ties it all together, but I thought it was worth chatting about here on the show as well. So we'll start on kind of his focus as he went to the bowl game, played tackle there, and now he's at the Senior Bowl. He's playing guard and tackle in the Senior Bowl, and really showcasing a complete game. And he could have sat out the bowl game, didn't have to go to the Senior Bowl, but he's laced up the chin strap and gone out there to compete all of December and now through January as well. And this is kind of his focus.
Biggest focus was making sure the young guys took that next step in terms of being self-motivated and just taking extra work, just maximizing their full potential while I was there. Then my second thing was to show that I could play tackle. So I got with Coach Davis and Coach Cliff, and we did a lot of tackle sets, stances. First I had to figure out my stance, then I had to figure out what side I was more comfortable with, and then we did a lot of indie, like additional to practice, separate film and things like that, and I think that really helped.
So that was him in December. Like, you remember, like, Will Campbell opted out, Emory Jones opted out, Garrett Dellinger still hurt, didn't want to push it. He's out there at the Senior Bowl today. So 3 of the guys that he had started a bajillion games with over 3 years said, we're going to sit. And Miles Frazier said, no, I'm going to play. And it wasn't just, let me try to play tackle and guard. He also said, I wanted to make sure that the guys that are younger than us understood that they were next and they needed to step up, and I could help them with that. So he worked on his job at the right tackle spot, got with Brad Davis and did a lot of post-practice work on play and tackle. And then he talked about working with the younger guys. You had to bring along Bo Bordelon and bring along Paul Mabenga and bring along Tyree Adams. And those guys had to step in and play. And ultimately, in the bowl game, LSU did not allow a sack and ran the ball for 120 yards or so and rolled up 44 points with some help from the special teams and the defense, who both scored in that game. But Frazier talked about the buy-in that they got from the younger players as they all kind of prepped in December to play in this bowl game.
Those guys bought in. They knew there was a void. They knew at first in the beginning of practices, it was different. But as they bought into like their potential, I feel like in a quick period, because it was only like 2.5, 3 weeks of that first practice of the bowl game, like they bought into the bomb squad way, and they embodied it in the game. Like they did phenomenal, and I'm proud of those guys. Like for real, like those guys are taking the next step. Just like I'm taking the next step here, they're taking the next step on the field, and those guys are going to dominate the SEC next year.
Going to dominate the SEC next year. I would like that. That'd be a really, really good thing, and we'll get to more on that in a second. But the other interesting avenue that T-Bob and Jake explored with Miles Frazier was his desire to play for LSU. He's a kid from New Jersey who started his collegiate career for 2 years at Florida International and then entered the portal and came to LSU. It's often you hear of a guy from the West Bank in New Orleans or the Acadiana area that really wants to play at LSU. Maybe they're from Zachary. I've always wanted to play at LSU. That makes a lot of sense. Guy from New Jersey, you don't hear that all that often. And the question is why did you always want to play at LSU as a guy from New Jersey who went down to Florida and ended up coming to LSU. And I thought the answer he gave was really insightful from his perspective, and also kind of lends an eye toward what LSU tries to accomplish on the national stage with branding.
They show you on the visits, like in the little theater room and all that.
Yeah.
But nothing compares to actually experiencing it. So like, it definitely this definitely is my dream. Reese's Bowl, the NFL, LSU, all that, and it's a blessing that everything is like coming to fruition.
And it was his dream, and it all came to fruition. And it was all planted in watching LSU and watching the brand that LSU has cultivated over the years, which includes the guys that are in the media.
Everyone that goes to LSU is just so high on LSU and just, oh my gosh, forever LSU, go Tigers, wearing wristbands, like everybody who's in the league and everyone who's in the media and just everyone in general, different sports and stuff like that. So I was wondering why the culture was so strong. So I actually waited in the portal to get LSU, and that was the specific school that I wanted to go to. And then once I got the call, like it was a no-brainer.
That's interesting, because that's what I talk about often. I mean, how many times have y'all heard me talk about this run LSU's been on with Burrow and Chase and Jefferson in the national championship, and then you got Angel Reese and Kim Mulkey in the national championship, and Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz in the championship, and Livy Dunn in a championship, and Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors in championships, and the whole NIL thing and the documentary and all of that, coupled with the fact that you turn on ESPN and there's Ryan Clark, and you turn on ESPN and there's Booger McFarland, you turn on ESPN and there's Marcus Spears, and if you turn on a baseball game, which I don't know if Miles Frazier does or doesn't, but there's Ben McDonald, and like it's a very powerful brand. And in the era of NIL, I understand that that's oftentimes going to be the hook. Often. It's going to be who's paying what. Often. But I'm never going to dismiss that. Because, one, it means a lot in the state for players to grow up here and play for LSU. It doesn't mean it's a lock every time, but it does mean something. And two, that's a kid from New Jersey who was in high school when Joe Burrow was lighting it up and decided, man, like, I'd like to hear about that. Like, what's the deal down there? Why are they so... And I'm sorry, like, this is not just me living in Baton Rouge and covering LSU. Auburn doesn't have that. I'm sorry, they don't. Texas A&M does not have that. They do not. I don't think Michigan has that. I don't think Miami has it. I think there are some that do. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas. But, like, it's not a lot. And LSU has it. And even those schools I just routed off, they may have one here, there, one more football games than LSU, or one more recent national championship, or whatever the case may be. But if you encompass all the sports, I don't know that anybody's done it quite as good as LSU has. And some of that's a little bit of luck with the massive personalities and with just kind of the things that have come together. Nobody really knew who Jaden Daniels was. Nobody knew who Joe Burrow was. Paul Skeens wasn't Paul Skeens. But it still matters. And that right there was an answer that was like, that actually proves the point I've been trying to make, that like this brand is really special outside of the state of Louisiana. It's not always going to work. NIL is a big, big deal. But it did work there with Miles Frazier. So now he moves on. Garrett Dellinger moves on. Will Campbell moves on. Emory Jones moves on. And LSU's got to remake their entire offensive line. And Miles Frazier was kind of asked, like, all right, you spend some time with these guys in December, and you feel like they're ready to take the next step, and he gave an answer like, hey, y'all better watch out.
I talked to Nuss the other day, like 2 days ago, and like I told him like it's up this year. Like a lot of people count LSU out, and like me, I don't really talk on the media and say what like all kind of stuff like that. But like it's up. Like at the end of the day, that bomb squad unit with Nuss, and then the defensive side with Perk, Witt, and all them, it's gonna go crazy.
He feels pretty good about LSU. Now, look, Miles might have a little bit of bias there. I'm not going to hold that against him. But he feels like Brad Davis is going to do the job that needs to be done with the talented youngsters that they've got. And they brought in, obviously, 2 Power 5 starters out of the transfer portal as well. So if they can block next year, they're going to score a lot of points because they got a quarterback who can sling it, and they've got some weapons around that should be really, really special. But keep in mind, and I'll say this a lot in August. I promise. It's coming. So just get ready. That offensive line was better than most LSU fans want to give it credit for. I know it wasn't perfect. But I'm just telling you, they were better than you give them credit for if you think that was an overrated unit that can't do anything. They were really good in pass blocking. They didn't do the job in run blocking sometimes. But there are going to be points during next season where you think, kind of wish I had the Campbell and Frazier kids back. Emory Jones doing all right. I mean, LSU is rolling on the offensive line, according to those that are there in the Senior Bowl. It's been a phenomenal week for a lot of those guys, Miles Frazier included. So thought that was interesting. I'll have the story written up on LouisianaSports.net later this evening. It's actually written, but we're going to wait to post it here for a couple of hours. All right, let's come back and close out hour number one. A freshman LSU baseball player got dubbed SEC Freshman of the Year. Tell you who that is coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. I was just bragging on T-Bob and his interviewing skills that got all those Miles Frazier quotes. I'll brag on him again. He always talks about loving the springtime because he goes outside, hangs out with the kiddos, and listens to LSU baseball outside. It's one of his favorite things to do with the youngsters. You can be like T-Bob. You don't have to necessarily do everything that T-Bob does, but you can listen to baseball outside if you get your outdoor entertainment area wired by Audio Video Security Solutions. They're happy to hang an outdoor television for you as well. Bring your game watching and entertainment experience outdoors with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They can handle that. It's the audio, the video. They can also handle security systems as well. I give you Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number each and every day. He's the point man. He's the owner of the company. He's going to tell you what's going to be done. He's your point person. He's the owner. What's better than that? It's 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. You can find them online at avssla.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Got a busy hour number 2 coming up. We'll start the hour giving you a preview of second base at LSU. That'll, of course, be a new look this year with Stephen Milam playing the majority of last year at second base and now moving to the left side of the infield. What does second base look like for LSU? We'll open up the hour with that. We'll talk with Chris Blair at 2:15. So we still got plenty to do here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. But we'll close out hour number 1 here with a little bit of baseball news. D1 Baseball, the team over there, they're putting their preseason All-American list, preseason All-Conference list together. And today they tabbed one of LSU's freshmen, the preseason Freshman of the Year in the Southeastern Conference. That's Derek Curiel. I have got to figure out if it's Curiel or Curiel. I think I'll figure that out pretty quickly here when I get out to the box. I think it's Curiel, but I don't know that for sure. Got to get it figured out. Either way, he's the preseason Freshman of the Year in the conference, according to D1 Baseball, and I think this is a great pick. Curiel is a guy, I think a lot of you know his story. As a freshman and sophomore, he was already tall, and he was a great player, Team USA guy, and he was thought of as the best prospect of his age in the country. And he never got a lot taller, still 6'1", 6'2", and he hasn't really filled out. He actually told me that on the air, that he just hasn't grown into his man body. And so there wasn't a lot of power in his profile in high school. He runs pretty well. He's a good defender. He's a great contact hitter, but he didn't grow into a lot of power. And that, I think, backed some Major League Baseball organizations off of him early on in his draft prep there as a junior and senior. And he decided, look, I've got this frame, I've got this ability, I'm going to get bigger, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to be a better prospect for the major leagues in 3 years after college than I am right now. I'm going to go to school. So he pulled his name out of the draft and showed up at LSU. Well, he showed up at LSU with a vengeance. He hit in the fall, according to Mark Etheridge, D1 Baseball, who I'm confident has spoken to Jay Johnson about this team to do his previews on the squad. And they listed his fall batting average at .388 with a .522 on-base percentage, getting on base more than half the time. That is sensational as an adjustment from high school baseball to college baseball. Now, Curiel, either way, has played a lot on the Showcase Series, played Team USA. Like, he's played a high level in Southern California. So his adjustment is going to be easier than, and I'm not like throwing bars, but they usually have a lot of good players. Like, than if you play for Parkview, like, and you're playing against the U Highs, and you're playing local Baton Rouge baseball. Like, that's going to be a pretty big jump to go to LSU and start facing guys that are throwing 97. But Curiel, lots of experience facing high level pitching. And he handled himself really well in the fall. You've heard the famous stories. Mikey Matuk had a bad fall. Stephen Milam's bad fall last year. Like, freshmen having bad falls in great freshman years is not anything new. But freshmen having great falls is eye-opening. And Cade Arambidi and Derek Curiel had great falls, and I think are both in line to start multiple games in the first week or two of the season. I think it's possible that Curiel's the best outfielder on LSU's team right now. I think that's possible. And certainly the folks at D1 Baseball think that. That's why they've named him the SEC's preseason freshman of the year. As far as the profile, I think he's going to be I don't mean an average like good or bad. I mean batting average hitter. He's going to hit the ball really hard. He's going to roll up a high batting average, I think. I think the power is going to come later in Curiel's career at LSU, and that's okay. You don't have to hit a ton of home runs as a freshman. The power came late in the freshman year for Stephen Milam, really towards the SEC tournament and the regional. And I think that you could see a progression like that maybe a year down the road with Derek Curiel. But the defense is good. The athleticism is good. It's a great left-handed swing, flat, hits the ball hard. And I think it's a great honor for him and a great representation of LSU's freshman class. It was ranked as good as anybody in the country's, and I think you're going to see a number of guys from that class really pop. Curiel, Cade Arambidi, Kason Evans, William Schmidt. I mean, there are a lot of guys in this class. Talked yesterday about Ryan Costello. They got a lot of really good players in this class, and Curiel certainly is one of those, and he is picked as the preseason SEC Freshman of the Year by D1 Baseball. So excited to see what Derek Curiel's got in store in his first campaign in Baton Rouge. That's it for Hour 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 600,000 king cakes at Rouse's. They bring you our Thursday shows. Looking for a king cake, get on by Rouse's and get yours today. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. You can also search Hunt on LSU for our LSU football. You can search Hunt on Saints for our Saints football. You can search Hoops with Hunt for our basketball. And we did all of that in the first hour. Opened up with LSU and Auburn last night from the PMAC. Luke Johnson from the Senior Bowl talking all things Saints, whether things stand with Kellen Moore. And we had some sound from this morning's OTB chat with Miles Frazier that I thought was really, really good. If you want to read about Miles, you can a little later this afternoon on LouisianaSports.net. Plenty to do in hour number 2. Chris Blair's with us in 20 minutes talking some hoops. And then we'll preview second base when we come back after Sports Center. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Parish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
Is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham is hoping to play in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Graham tore his triceps 2 months ago against the Rams and said after the game he'd miss the rest of the season. The team opened Graham's practice window today. As for the Chiefs, quarterback Patrick Mahomes with some thoughts on his coach, Andy Reid.
He doesn't care if he's playing Week 18 or Week 1 or Super Bowl or preseason game. He's the same. He's the same. He's going to expect greatness out of you. And when you leave the building, he wants you to be a better person than when you got in the building.
Patrick Mahomes, of the 60 passengers on the American Airlines flight that crashed near Washington, D.C. last night, 14 of them were members of the figure skating community, including skaters and coaches from U.S. figure skating. They were all flying back from a U.S. development camp in Wichita, Kansas. The city of Denver will have a team in the NWSL starting in 2026. Denver will be the 16th franchise in the Women's Pro Soccer League.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Friday as Patrick Mahomes chases a three-peat. Just how long do we think his career will actually be? It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Getting close to the weekend here. Boys will be back from Mobile tomorrow morning, it's my understanding. I don't know if they'll be on the show or not. It would not surprise me at all if Jacob Hester did not do off the bench tomorrow. The man was in Atlanta all week last week and in Mobile all week this week. Maybe he will do it. I haven't talked to Jake, but I think they were planning on leaving Mobile at about 3 o'clock today and heading on back. Maybe they'll be here tomorrow, maybe not, but they won't be in Mobile tomorrow. I'll tell you that. They've had a great run over there at the Senior Bowl, but we're getting close to the weekend. We'll get you there here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chris Blair along in 15 minutes. We'll talk about last night in the PMAC, and tomorrow is his partner on the air. We'll have his 2000 Sweet 16 team honored a 25th anniversary of Stromile Swift, Jabari Smith, Brian Bashera, Ronald Dupree, Taurus Bright, Collis Temple III. Heck of a team. It was really, really good. Made it to the Sweet 16. Where they lost to Wisconsin. That team will be honored on Saturday, and we'll talk to Chris Blair about that coming up in 15 minutes. Over at LouisianaSports.net, starting up on Tuesday of this week, started going around the diamond for LSU baseball and previewing position by position. We started things off at catcher. Talked about first base yesterday with Jared Jones. And so we'll move over to second base today, and that's where we're going to find a bit of a shift. I would have probably thought as of June of last year that you had your 3-year second baseman in Stephen Milam. Keep in mind, I think a lot of people don't remember who started on opening day for LSU at second base last year. Beck, do you recall who LSU's opening day second baseman was?
Josh Pearson?
Last year. That is correct. Josh Pearson started at second base last year. I looked it up yesterday. Stephen Milam did start the Saturday game, so game 2 of that series, and ended up that Josh Pearson started, I think, 7 games at second base all season.
I remember you had some kind of
Bold
preseason
prediction.
one of your bold predictions was about that.
Pearson would start more in the outfield than second base. And I just felt that way for like 4 different reasons. And one of them was that I thought Milam could win the job, and he ended up doing that. And Milam had a phenomenal year. He was LSU's second best hitter in the postseason when you pair the SEC tournament and the regional. Jones was phenomenal and was every bit as good. Tommy White was not quite there at that point, just didn't have as big a regional as you might have hoped. Had some big spots and just didn't quite come through with the big hit Tommy White was a legend here at LSU, so I don't mean to disparage him there, but I was meaning to compliment Milam and how well he played down the stretch last year, and felt like he's just your prototypical second baseman. He's a switch hitter. He's scrappy. He plays good defense. He's quick. He hits towards the top of the order. Like, kind of looks like a classic second baseman. And the decision was made that they were going to move him to the left side of the infield. And when they made that decision, you realize, okay, well, we've got to figure out something at second base. And everyone is forecasting that Daniel Dickinson will be the second baseman on this LSU team, and for good reason. Daniel Dickinson has an incredible skill set. There's no doubt about that. He was at Utah Valley for 2 seasons, and over the course of those 2 seasons, he was incredibly productive, absolutely raked. He hit .369 with 27 home runs over 2 years, and just last season alone, he stole 32 bases. So what you've got in Daniel Dickinson is a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound, great athlete with good speed and the ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark at Utah Valley. Here's where I am with Dickinson, because I just saw that D1 Baseball named him a top 3 second baseman in the nation. He's been forecast as a potential first or second round pick. And all that is great. I'm really for that. I hope that Daniel Dickinson is a superstar. But you have to recall that all this production came at Utah Valley. He went to Cape Cod, which is a very, very difficult place to hit. I'm well aware of that. You're using wooden bats. You're facing good arms. The ballparks are big. It's a hard place to hit. But he played about 25 games, not great, and I didn't see a ton in the fall. Now, keep in mind, I'm just giving you what my eyes have seen, and I understand that that's not the entire story. I'm the one who this time last year sat here and said, Paul Skeens was okay at Air Force pitching. Texas knocked him all over the place in the regional. I watched him pitch in the fall. Josh Pearson homered off him the first time I was out there. Like, let's just pump our brakes with this Team USA. Guy's got everything, and he's the best pitcher anybody's ever seen. So I don't get all these right. But I do have a shred of apprehension about Dickinson going from Utah Valley to the SEC. It's just a different game. It's very, very possible that Daniel Dickinson hits .360 with 16 homers and 25 steals. That's in his ceiling skill set. Like, it's there. It's possible he doesn't hit for power against these power arms and doesn't get on base enough to steal enough bases and isn't quite the player that everybody is saying, because this is moving up a level. I'm going to talk about this a lot over the next week and a half, but LSU is trying something a little bit different this year. Think about the transfers that LSU's brought in over the last 3 years. Tommy White, NC State. Jacob Berry, Arizona. Luke Holman, Alabama. Thatcher Hurd, Gage Jump, UCLA. Michael Braswell, South Carolina. Like, these are high-level programs that you're taking players from. And in a lot of cases, guys that have been very productive in what was the Pac-12 or the ACC or the SEC. You're counting now on Daniel Dickinson from Utah Valley. I'll talk about Tanner Reeves in a second from junior college, from Blinn College. You're going to talk about Anthony Ianson from UCSD. You're going to talk about Zach Cowan from Wofford. These are guys that are trying to step up in class. The SEC is so much better than every other league in this country that it's almost not even the same sport. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic. I really don't. So while it's easy to forecast Braden Montgomery to use another school, going from Stanford to A&M and balling, well, we saw it in what was then the Pac-12. Utah Valley's not in the Pac-12. So I'm cautiously optimistic about Dickinson. I am not quite where the guys from D1 Baseball are, and really, honestly, where like professional scouts and stuff are, that like, this guy's a star. Again, I'm not saying he's not a star. Understand, I'm expressing a little concern with the adjustment. You won't know the first 4 weeks. You won't know because you'll be playing the Utah Valleys of the world for 4 weeks. But I'm hopeful that once SEC play gets rolling, Dickinson does too. I'm hopeful he's the 55th pick in the draft and he's a star. He hits 4th behind Jared Jones. Like, that's what I would love to see, because the skill set, and by all accounts at LSU, the attitude, the determination, the style of play, all of it fits what they want at LSU. He's a baseball guy. And he's fast, and he's got bat speed and all that. But fast and bat speed doesn't do much for you if you can't make contact consistently with 95 the way you did with 91. It stands to reason his skill set will assimilate. I'm just being cautious about Dickinson. I will say that Tanner Reeves is an interesting insurance policy. If you don't know Tanner Reeves, went to Blinn College for a couple of years. He's a junior college player, left-handed, can probably play second or third. And I think he has some ability to swing the bat. I mean, at junior college, he hit 400 with 28 homers and 28 doubles in 2 years. He drove in 142 runs. I went to the scrimmage on Sunday, and he hit a home run out to right center field. He's left-handed, which is different than Dickinson. He's another left-handed bat on the infield, Milam switch hitter, so you got two of those that you can use. And I feel like there's a chance that Reeves becomes the fourth infielder. If there's an injury somewhere, maybe able to help out. He's an interesting insurance policy. I don't think he has the tools that Dickinson has, but I do think that there's something to be intrigued by there at second base, and I think those two guys are the likely candidates to play second. It's exciting based on the upside. It's a little bit concerning based on, and I'm going to say, this is not a Daniel Dickinson thing. This is a gradual step up thing. I feel the same way about Cowan, same way about Ianson, same way about Blaze Priester, same way about Tanner Reeves, same way about Jacob Myers. Like all these guys that are coming from lower levels, I'm going to want to see it in the league. I'm just not in a spot where I'm going to sit here and tell you, yes, that guy is going to be awesome in the SEC. But again, I'll out myself again. I did this with Paul Skeens last year, okay? So feel free to say, Hunt, you're an idiot. I'm always welcoming that. But I'm going to sit here and tell you what I think from 1 to 3 every day. This is how I feel about second base. There's a chance Daniel Dickinson is a star. There's a chance, man, those numbers were inflated a little bit in a bad conference. I'm just curious to see. But I like the skill set. I do like the skill set, and I think Tanner Reeves offers an interesting backup plan there. So that's your look at second base. Milam moving to the left side. He's over there with Braswell. We'll talk about those guys. Mikey Ryan, who's the guy they're really excited about. Hogg is a young freshman infielder that they think has got a bright future as well. So plenty to talk about on the infield on tomorrow's show. We'll talk about shortstop, which I'm excited to do. We're going to go through all of the positions on the diamond, as well as the starting pitching and relief pitching throughout the course of this series. If you want to read it, written word, always there at LouisianaSports.net, always free. Every morning between 7 and 8:30, I will have the next installment of the position previews. Right now, second base up there at LouisianaSports.net. Go check that out. By the way, lots of stuff over at LouisianaSports.net today. Charles Hanniger wrote a great little notebook column today that talks about the Super Bowl, talks about the Saints, talks about LSU basketball, talks a little about the Pels as well. You can check that out. Ross Jackson's got some really good stuff from the Senior Bowl. His latest column is titled "The Saints' Upcoming Changes on Defense Could Maximize Their Talent and Avoid Some Past Pitfalls." Chris Marler is still on football. I know y'all love football. Go check out his one burning question for each SEC team as they enter the spring. He's got Arkansas up right now. Plenty stuff over at LouisianaSports.net. Always invite you to go check that out. I saw somebody at the PMAC last night who came up to me and said, "Hey, I listen every day. I think you do a great job on the radio." So that's great. I appreciate that. He said, "But I was real skeptical when y'all launched that website. Some radio guys trying to write. I didn't think that was going to go so well, but you do a pretty good job." I said, "Well, thanks. I actually graduated in print. That's where my background generally is. So I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy the work that we're doing over there at LouisianaSports.net. And we really appreciate y'all for clicking and reading and being there every single day for us there. It's been great since we launched things back in August. All right, let's step aside. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. He's with us coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team are awesome, and you can take my word for it, or you can go to their Google reviews. How often do you get online and review your insurance broker if you're a business owner? I'm guessing you don't. It's not something that happens all that often. But Jonathan Carbo and his team take such good care of their clients that they've got over 100 positive Google reviews right there. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Go check it out. They're experts in terms of the coverages that are required for each and every business. If you're just not sure exactly what you need from an insurance perspective, let them take a look at it. You worry about running your business. That's your job. let them handle the insurance side of things. Trust them as a part of your team. You trust your attorney, you trust your CPA, trust your insurance broker, and make sure that they're qualified, like the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbo's team can be found online at highlandig.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge. Happy to help you wherever you are in the state of Louisiana. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Tigers lose last night in the PMAC to the number 1 team in the nation. Auburn gets out with an 87-74 win. It was a fun environment in there for a lot of the game. A lot of Auburn fans in there, and LSU fans did their part to get in there and make it a pretty raucous environment. Best one that I've been in this year, but ultimately Auburn too much for LSU. Chris Blair was courtside on the call and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
Good, Hunt. Good.
Let's talk a little bit about last night. What was your call like on Auburn's first possession when they got 6 offensive rebounds?
It was crazy. I mean, I've never really. I mean, even Coach Brady, who has seen a lot more basketball than I have. I mean, he was like, I don't know that I can ever recall, that many offensive rebounds coming up, with 0 points. And I mean, we got to the first media timeout and they had 9 rebounds. Yeah. All 9 were on the offensive end. But again, I likened it a little bit to the start of the game against Alabama. I think Auburn was maybe a little surprised. Wait a minute, these guys aren't going to let us just push them around. And frankly, I didn't think LSU, gave anybody a reason to think they would, especially in the first 3 conference games. I mean, I think they got handled pretty good by a Vanderbilt team physically. Certainly they did in the second half against Ole Miss. So again, I thought it was a great start. And, it's one of those things that it reminds me when you look at the last two games, and I preface everything I say based on the fact that when you look at those two rosters, Alabama and Auburn, and you kind of see why they're as good as they are. They're talented, they're deep. And in Auburn's case, I was impressed because there was a quick moment down the stretch when LSU cut it to 5 that I really thought if Auburn played the way they have maybe 4 years ago, early on in Coach Pearl's tenure, they would keep coming down and shooting threes with 8 seconds off the shot clock.
Yep.
They don't do that. They came down and said, we're going to get it to our money guy. We're going to go to Janai Broome. He's going to get fouled, even though he's only a 64% free throw shooter. He certainly didn't look like it last night, but he's also makes some really tough shots, in and around the box. So that to me showed me why this Auburn team may be the best one Bruce has ever put on the floor, just simply because they can shoot outside, but they don't completely rely on it. And when they really need to get something, they know where to get the basketball to. And I think that's something LSU has struggled with. And I know we talked about it last week. There in the first half, Cam picks, unfortunately, his second foul, and then he sits, and suddenly it becomes a 10-point Auburn lead. And he's your scorer. There's no two ways about it. I know that Jordan Sears had 21 against Alabama, and teams are going to game plan for Cam Carter. They're going to try to take him away above everybody else. But when he's that type of prolific scorer, when he's on the sidelines, that's the scare you have if you're LSU, that teams like Auburn and Alabama and, frankly, just about everybody else in the SEC, that's when they can take advantage when LSU goes on a 2.5, 3-minute scoring drought, and suddenly a 2-point game or a 1-point lead becomes a 9 or 10-point deficit in the blink of an eye. And I think that's what we saw. And I thought also after the media timeout at the 15:42 mark or somewhere in there, Auburn looked different. Again, I thought they took a couple of body blows early, and then they kind of settled in.
And to your point, and I missed this in my stats roundup in the story I wrote for the site last night, but Cam Carter played 31 minutes last night, and the score between the two teams in those 31 minutes was tied. He sat 9 minutes, and LSU lost those 9 minutes by 13 points. And that's kind of to your point. He scored 24 points on 9 shots. That's as efficient as you can possibly be. But he only took 2 threes. You're sitting there courtside. Did you see Auburn really focusing on trying not to let him get free?
Yeah, especially in the final 10 minutes of the game. And even Coach Brady mentioned the fact that you got to find a way, whether it's having him bring it up the floor. There's got to be a way he's got to have a touch. And I thought they did an excellent job of just keeping him away from the ball. And they do a really good job, a lot like Ole Miss did, where they try to push everything offensively for you into the corners. And then all of a sudden when they trap, you can't really decide, hey, I got to get the ball to Cam. You got to get the ball to whoever's open. And that's what good defenses do. It's interesting because, I feel for Coach McMahon and the staff because, there's been games where you go, okay, these are the problems, we got to fix them. And obviously turnovers, 42 of their points last night come off offensive rebounds and turnovers. That's not going to – a number one team's going to beat you. In fact, it's probably good they didn't get beat worse. But most teams are going to beat you at this level when you give up that many opportunities. But LSU shot the ball extremely well. It's maybe one of their best shooting nights in league play, but it's those other things that just constantly you can't get corrected. And as Coach McMahon and I talked about after practice yesterday before the game, it's going to take the best game. And they've played some good games this year, non-conference, and they've had stretches in conference games where they played well. But going into that matchup last night, there was no margin for error. And when you start approaching 20 turnovers and giving up, 25 offensive or 25 points and second chance points, you're not going to beat the number one team in the land.
The issue with the turnovers to me, and Matt McMahon alluded to this in the postgame where we were, I'm not sure what he said to y'all courtside, when Glenn West asked him about the turnovers, I wish I had a good answer. And as I'm sitting there, I'm going, if it was one thing, then you could maybe fix it. If you're getting trapped too often, maybe you can fix that. If you're going too fast, maybe you can fix that. It's all in the backcourt or all in the front court, maybe you can fix that. But, Derek Fountain had 4 turnovers. Jordan Sears had 6 turnovers. Sometimes they're going too fast. Sometimes they get trapped in the full court. Sometimes they stand out of bounds when they catch the ball. It's just there are too many holes to try to plug in the turnover wall, it just looks like.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, first of all, it starts with too much dribbling, too much single one-on-one dribbling. And that causes problems because teams want you to do that. That's what they almost bait you into doing that. And then I think sometimes, to your point about moving too fast, maybe you do make a good move. You get a crossover, you get a step on a guy, suddenly you're in the paint. I just think there's a tentativeness on what decision you're going to make, and then suddenly, most of these SEC teams are going to collapse when you touch the paint. They're taught, get everybody on the paint and don't give them an open look. Well, that's when it's got to be kicked out. I mean, it doesn't take a mathematical genius to figure out if three guys collapse on you in the paint, you got some open guys out there. And I think sometimes there's just a hesitancy, and it may just be, I'm just trying to get something. And then, whoops, I really didn't have a plan. So you're right. I mean, the turnovers come in all different phases, but the live ball turnovers, which we all know are just death nails.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach McMahon says it all the time. If you're going to turn it over and let them get a dunk on the other end, sling the ball up to the band and make them put it in play.
No doubt. So it's a tough stretch, obviously, for LSU. They've just gotten through with road games against A&M and Ole Miss and Alabama, and then a home game against the number one team in the country. Now, although you're 1-6, you look up and you go, okay, Texas is coming in, and you're at a Georgia team that's not great, and Ole Miss comes to you, and then you're at Arkansas team that's a mess, and Oklahoma's not great, and South Carolina's next. Plus Florida coming in. Like there's a run of games that you feel like you should be pretty competitive in starting on Saturday. I'm curious, in your time around the team, how do you feel like their mindset is right now?
Well, I think they have to have the mindset that this is the stretch. This has to be the stretch. I heard a lot of people say, well, the first couple of games, you got to get those under your belt. And sure, I mean, it always is great to get off to a great conference start. Although I will argue with just about anybody that this is not your daddy's Vanderbilt basketball team. This may be one of the most talented Vandy's team in quite a while. But having said that, once you got through this murderer's row, and I put Texas A&M in there because at the time they were a top 15 team and you're playing at their place. And, oh, by the way, they've suddenly now started selling out Reed Arena. So that's a tough place. But as you pointed out, now you've got a stretch of games where if you can't find a way to get over the hump and pick up wins, it's the season may slip right out of your hands. And I know that, I don't mean to sound doom and gloom, but you're right. The Texas team coming in on Saturday, they fell last night in a close one in a tough place at Oxford, and obviously the storylines of Chris Beard taking on his old school and his old assistant, all of that. But credit Ole Miss, they got the win. But Texas had gotten two pretty good wins, including that 22-point comeback against Texas A&M. So this is not a gimme. And maybe 3 weeks ago people thought it was going to be, but it's not. But it is a doable game. You're playing at home. There have been improvements. If you look at the tape over the last two games, it didn't result in a win, but there has been improvements. But you're going to have to get some wins in this stretch here, or it's going to be a long back end of this season.
Your cohort on the call, John Brady's team, is going to be honored for their 25th anniversary, making the Sweet 16 back in 2000. I know you weren't around here in 2000, but a 12-year-old Hunt Palmer was locked in on that team as they kind of went on a run with Stromile Swift and Jabari Smith and some of those great players. I know that's going to be a great weekend for Coach Brady and for those guys that are coming back, and it sounds like they're going to have really good attendance for this reunion. So what's that going to be like for you to watch Coach Brady with his first really, really good team?
I'm super thrilled for him. I mean, he mentioned this to me, Hunt, in September. I mean, well before we even, or at least on my radar, basketball was there. I mean, we had just started football, but he said we're going to put this together, and LSU had wanted to honor not only that team, but we're going to honor, obviously, teams from the all-decades teams, actually. They've got, I think, well over 100 plus former players from every decade that'll be there. But he's extremely happy, and he couldn't say enough about how LSU and Emily Dixon with the Letterman's Club, they all kind of really got behind this. And I think it's a good thing because, LSU has a great basketball history. And I know there's been big gaps where maybe they haven't been where we all wanted them to be over the years. But they've had some really good teams, really big moments, and really good coaches and really good players. So I like it. I know John was impressed last year, and I don't think he'll mind me telling this story. They did something similar when we played at South Carolina, had that thrilling win, if you remember, at Colonial Life Center. they did the same thing, and they had players from South Carolina that went back to the 50s, and they lined them up from baseline to baseline. And I remember John watching that thinking, this is really cool that South Carolina is honoring, the basketball. So, I'm not saying that was the genesis of this, but I know he is tickled that there's going to be an opportunity, not just to highlight that 2000 Sweet 16 team and the great players he had, but really, when you've been investing in it, like Coach Brown and obviously Coach Brady and, any coach in any program, I mean, you want to highlight everybody who's worn that uniform. And so it should be a great weekend. I hope the fans will come out. They'll see some people they haven't seen in quite a while. And we get to celebrate a Sweet 16 team. So, the most important thing is hopefully we can beat the Longhorns.
That's true. That Sweet 16 team did beat the Longhorns in an NCAA tournament. That's good. Good day to get it done. Chris, we appreciate some time. We'll talk next week.
You got it, buddy.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. You can find him on the LSU Sports Radio Network, and he's with us every single Thursday. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. 30 minutes to go. We'll come back with a little bit more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge is your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tune in as they host the Celtics tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pelicans are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and also 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help you cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. Sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
The folks over at On 3, of course, we talked to Matthew Bruni from the On 3 crew every single Wednesday. We talked to J.D. Piquel during football season on Wednesdays as well. The whole crew there put together their final top 300, which they call their On 300. Cool little play on words there, but they released their final one for the high school signing class of 2025. And LSU was, as you might imagine, very well represented in that top 300. There are 12 LSU signees in that number. And, you know, this was a day, we haven't gotten to February where signing day would be, but the rankings were like such a huge thing to me as like a middle school or high schooler into college, like just huge, huge deal. And over time, that kind of wore off in as far as tracking them day by day. It's still important when the ink dries what kind of class you've got. And as of like 10 months ago, I still thought that was vitally important. And now I think it's important. It's always going to be better to have a really, really good player for 3 years instead of 1. But the fact of the matter is that all of these guys who sign with LSU have the ability to bolt at any point. Just gone. So it's hard to like get all jazzed up about what guys are going to be over their 3 or 4 year career at LSU when there's so much turnover. But still, you want to bring in high profile and really talented high school players. Sometimes you bring in a class that's got Lance Hurd and Deshaun Womack and Walker Howard and Shelton Sampson in it, and none of them play for you anymore. Like, sometimes that happens. But sometimes you sign young players that become stars, like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. So I'd like to take my chances with some really good high school players. And if they don't work out, they don't work out. And by On 3's count, LSU's got some really good high school players. 3 of them are 5-star players. You already knew that DJ Pickett was a 5-star. He started his run as a sophomore as the number 1 safety in the country, is now thought of as On 3's number 1 cornerback in the country. He's ranked as the number 10 player overall in the class. Crown jewel of Corey Raymond's big haul here. Harlan Berry is thought of as a 5-star recruit as well. He was the number 1 running back in the nation as a sophomore by On 3. He's the number 1 running back in the nation today by On 3. He is the number 18 player in the country. Those 2 were already 5 stars in this class. But another one was added today, and that's Carius Kern, the offensive lineman from Arkansas. He's the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the nation by On 3. And the number 28 player in the country. The way On 3 does their rankings is they make sure there are 32 5-stars every year. Exactly. Not like at least 32 exactly. And that's to be representative of the number of first-round picks there are in the NFL draft. That's kind of the way they've modeled their ranking system to translate, hey, in 3 to 4 years, like these are the top 32 guys. Of course, that's never going to work out exactly like that, but that's the reason they do it. And so for LSU to have the number 1 corner, number 1 running back, number 2 interior offensive lineman in the country, all top 30 players in the country is a great pull for this program. If you're looking for some rankings for some other guys in this class, the next man up is number 89. That's Teron Francis, the wide receiver from down there in New Orleans. He's thought of as number 13 wide receiver in the country, number 89 player in the country. Jaden Breaker, linebacker, number 10 linebacker in the country, number 112 overall. Solomon Thomas, a late addition to this class that actually ends up working out because he was committed to Florida State because of Alex Atkins, who was the offensive coordinator there, and then Alex Atkins got fired, then Solomon Thomas reopened his recruitment, and then he signed with LSU, and then Alex Atkins got hired by LSU, so Solomon Thomas has got the guy that he wanted to play for, plus Brad Davis, and he's here at LSU, number 5 interior offensive lineman. So with he and Kern, you got 2 of the top 5 interior offensive linemen in the country. Thomas comes in at number 126. Those are your top 50 players, 6 of them in this class. Aiden Anding, cornerback from Ruston at 160. JT Lindsey, the talented running back from North Louisiana, is number 173 in the country. You've got Damian Shanklin on the edge, number 231. Jace Thomas, wide receiver, safety at 238. Charles Ross, big-time linebacker at 263. And Phillip Wright, the wide receiver from New Orleans, down there at 278. LSU in total has 12 players in the top 300. I mentioned 6 in the top 150 and 4 in the top 100. We'll see how many of these guys hang around, how many of these guys contribute. It's a weird world now, and it feels odd to me to have kind of thought along with Brian Kelly in thinking that you really needed to build your program from the high school ranks. Like, I fully agree with that. I didn't even think it was homerism that I thought that. I thought that just seems reasonable. LSU can recruit high-profile high school players. They've done it for 2 decades. They've won at an elite level. They've played for 4 national championships and won 3 of them because of the great players in this state and the guys that they can attract nationally. They can bring in, develop, and play for 3 years, 4 years in some cases, and play in the NFL. That seems reasonable to continue to do that. Ole Miss has never done that, so why would they try to do that now? They can just go to the portal because that's the only way they can make it work. And then you saw LSU shift, and I'm kind of thinking along with Brian Kelly, and I'm going, yeah, kind of makes sense, because if you've got some 5-star guys that really can't play, you're going to need to go restock those shelves, and you got to do it out of the portal, and that's guys that you know can play because they've oftentimes done it at the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10 level. So I don't think you can do this one way. I don't think you can only work the portal. I don't think you can only work high school. Clemson kind of proved that a little bit. But the mix is different than I anticipated it being 10 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when all this started really churning. It feels like now you go get high-profile high school players, you go sign them and make sure that you have young players that you can develop with the understanding you're going to have massive attrition there. And then you've got to go be really aggressive in December and go fill out your roster. Like, that's, I don't know how you could argue against that. I think Kirby Smart they might be the exception to the rule, but I mean, Ohio State was loaded with transfers on that team that just won a championship. Now, you got Jeremiah Smith, like, that's a guy that you recruited, but you got Will Howard out of the portal, and you got Caleb Downs out of the portal, and you got Quinshon Judkins out of the portal, and, like, yeah, you developed Jack Sawyer, and you want to do that too, but you gotta do both, and you got to do both very aggressively. And so I feel like LSU has done a really good job in this class of getting some really high-level players, and you got to continue to supplement it out of the transfer portal, which I think they've done for the most part. So for LSU, 12 signees in the top 300 on 3, 6 in the top 150, 4 in the top 100, and 3 5-star recruits, Carius Kern, Harlem Berry, and DJ Pickett. I don't believe LSU is going to sign any other high school players in this class. Sounds like the roster is just about set for the spring and really moving toward the spring transfer portal window, which you don't expect to be too busy. And then you point your ships towards August and September, and you go try to make a playoff. So that's your LSU football chatter for today. If you're looking for LSU football talk, earlier today I talked about Miles Frazier and his interview with the guys on Off the Bench. That's on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. You can also find it wherever you find your podcast, Hunt on LSU. LSU football all year round. For those of you that aren't locked in on baseball, don't care at all about basketball, you just want your football, Hunt on LSU. Wherever you find your podcast, that's LSU football all year round. Step aside, come back and close it out. Say Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Your buying experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge is going to be luxury in every way. You're going to feel like a guest at the dealership, not a customer. Their brand ambassadors are going to help you each and every step of the way. That can be in the store or completely remotely. If you go to genesisofbatonrouge.com, you can search the entire inventory online. If you see something you might want to get behind the wheel of, tell them. They'll bring it to you. They'll bring it to the office. They'll bring it to at home. Your brand ambassador will get behind the wheel with you, help you drive it around, give you tutoring on all the great features that they've got there, show you all the safety features. And if you decide you like it, they can do digital delivery, do e-contracts, all that. You never have to set foot on the dealership. Just part of the experience of being a Genesis driver. Also part of that experience, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Auto part of that, 3 years complimentary maintenance. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online. genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
OTB, AFR, and the Hunt Palmer Show are hitting the road starting next week for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. They will be on Radio Row every single day, live and local for you. Our coverage is presented locally by LeBear's Casino Hotel Baton Rouge. You can listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and, of course, watch on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
I just got to look at the seating chart for Radio Row.
Yeah.
Cade sent that to us. Makes SEC Media Days look like child's play.
I would
This is
think
going to
so.
be quite an operation down there in the convention
Who's
center.
the neighbors for us down there?
ESPN National is across the walkway. From
Oh,
us,
that's
it
cool.
appears. I don't know. We just got our assignment, and they're all numbered, so I don't know who anybody else is. But
Okay.
I do know what number. I do know what ESPN Radio means.
Yes, that
they don't have a
usually-
number. They're just ESPN
Yeah, they're just
Radio.
ESPN Radio.
So they're going to be right across from us. It looks like, dozens. And I did a spot with ESPN Southwest Louisiana today, and they're going to be there as well. So it appears that there's going to be quite a few folks down there at Radio Row. I'm excited to do that next week. That's a first for me, and should be a lot of fun down there in the Big Easy next week for the big game. We can say Super Bowl in the air.
We're covering it. We're gonna be there. So I think we can call it that.
They don't have the rights exclusively. We can't advertise with.
No, that's what it is. Yeah. We can talk about Super Bowl 59.
We can say Super Bowl on the Sports Talk Radio show.
Yeah.
We just can't use it in promos and stuff.
Except
certainly with gambling.
Yeah.
So here we go. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Speaking of gambling, there were unusual betting patterns surrounding the play of then Charlotte Hornets guard Terry Rozier. He's now with the Heat.
Okay.
This was in a game nearly 2 years ago. If you're wondering why that's being investigated now, it's because of the Jonte Porter investigation that is still ongoing.
Yeah.
He is, of course, banned for life from the NBA.
Yeah.
He's under investigation by federal prosecutors. The NBA confirmed this today, so there's no question whether or not there's an investigation going on around him. These guys will never learn. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'm looking at Terry Rozier's career earnings. It's going to come up here in a second.
It's going to be a lot because
he plays in the NBA.
He plays in the NBA, and he has been a starter multiple years. So
the
those
NBA
guys
just
make a lot of money.
Pays a lot. Career earnings. This is on the court.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with shoe deals or whatever. On the floor, $133 million.
That's a lot of money.
Can we just not cook the betting lines for an extra couple grand? Can we not?
So even if you're doing this, I've seen some speculation online of what actually happened, whether or not he was doing this for people. He was telling people, hey, kind of like what Jonte Porter was doing. Even if you're doing this for other people, these people are probably betting, who knows? Maybe they're betting a lot, but either way.
You can't bet too much. You're going to raise flags.
Right. So as opposed to doing that, why don't you just say,
making
hey,
$5,000 here and there.
Instead of me going out of the game for no reason and just saying, oh, I'm hurt, and these people making money, why don't you just give them money? If they want this money, just give it to them. You're not going to go. Now this guy's probably going to get banned for life, just like Jonte Porter from the NBA. You can't make any money if you're banned from the NBA. You can't
make $133 million any easy way. I know. You
can go play in Europe maybe and make a couple $100,000, but that's about it. So that's just.
Come on, Terry. Is he scary Terry too, or is that just?
I don't know. I think it might just be Terry McLaurin.
Just McLaurin. Okay.
Yeah. All right, next one here. This is some really sad news potentially for you, Hunt. Brewers All-Star.
I hate to hear that.
Brewers, starting with this. Brewers All-Star Christian Yelich. I don't think we like him very much.
My arch nemesis is Christian Yelich.
He is hosting a charity event in Milwaukee. There will be a musical act that is headlining this event, Hunt, and unfortunately, it is the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, that's devastating.
You have previously called Yelich, as you just said, your arch nemesis.
Oh, God,
the Goo Goo Dolls are dead to you. Take it or leave it.
That's a tough scene. Yelich is my arch nemesis. The man has tormented me for years. He ruined one trip to Wrigley with a 3-run tank to center in the 8th inning to give the Brewers the win. I despise his baseball play in every way. He's not necessarily on Ryan Braun's level because Ryan Braun flagrantly cheated.
He did cheat.
Yelich is just awesome.
It's also not the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are.
Yeah, Yachty's number one.
Yeah,
but I hate Yelich, and for him to have the Goo Goo Dolls, the charity event,
that's
that
a tough look.
Cuts deep.
It does.
I think they really need to. I don't know what the charity's for. Maybe that influences me. Maybe it doesn't. Who's to say? But it's very disappointing. The Goo Goo Dolls would take on that undertaking.
So the question is, Hunt, though, are they dead to you or not? No. I would say that you're probably going to be on probation.
They're not.
We'll leave it.
They're not. They're not dead to me. What a great band. Incredible stuff.
All right, next one, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am started today. We're not going to talk about your fantasy pick, though, Hunt. But anyways, number 7.
He was in first like 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, he made three bogeys in a row.
I would guess that Colin Morikawa has not made 3 bogeys in a row in his career.
Maybe at a U.S. Open. He's probably done it before.
Never.
Okay. I mean, he's played plenty of U.S. Opens.
Looks like
Guys make
me
3
out
bogeys
there
in a row.
at Webb Park making 3 bogeys in a row.
You never played Webb Park, Hunt. Don't say you would steep so low to that level. You would never do that.
I'm not
Anyway,
anti-Webb. I just never played it.
yeah, but you wouldn't because I've asked you to play at
That's a lie.
J.S. Clark
You
before.
have never asked me to
have.
play.
I have asked you.
I don't believe
You're like,
that.
I won't play at J.S. Clark, but I'll play with somewhere else with you. Anyways, number 7 at Pebble is the best par 3 in the world. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that.
Leave it alone.
12 at Augusta's got to be better. I think 16 at Typer's Point is significantly better.
I mean, Sawgrass.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most picturesque par 3. Maybe 16 at Cypress, but like I played Pebble and I played 7, and the wind wasn't blowing.
It's just
so
nothing
it was the
without the
easiest
wind.
hole I've ever played.
Yeah.
You just flip a 90-yard wedge down the hill, and it's a tap-in par. It was just there's nothing to it. But I understand. Like there was video last year when the wind was blowing 1,000.
5 irons.
Finau, it was a practice round.
Yeah.
Finau teed up a driver and popped it up into the wind. So there is that intrigue, and I think if the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour, I might have a different perspective of it from my personal experience, but it was calm, and I just hit a wedge to 20 feet and tapped in for par. Next.
All right, last one. Pels forward Zion Williamson, when asked...
He's not going to play.
He probably isn't, no. But when asked about playing back-to-backs, he said, let me be... This is quote from him. Maybe make this clear to everybody. If I could play in back-to-backs, I would. Physically, yes, I can. But I work for the Pelicans. They have decided that based off the numbers, it's not smart to do that right now. If that's what they feel, I'm rocking with them on that. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I get it. I understand. But the fact that he's in like year, 6 or something, and he can't play 2 games in a row is just egregious. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
It's pathetic. All right, that's it. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand. Talked a lot of LSU baseball, some LSU football as well, a little bit of Saints with Luke Johnson. You can find it wherever you find your sounder. Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's. Matt's going to drive you home. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play.